Where am I headed? Where am I headed? Wouldn't you like to? Where am I headed? Where am I headed? Where am I headed? Wouldn't you like to know? I'm going fishing. Woo!
Hey everybody, Jim Salmons here, the Kayak Fishing Show live, brought to you as always by Ballast Point. Today we're going to have a Victory at Sea, their Imperial Porter with coffee and vanilla, perfect for the kind of crummy weather we've had. So good, so good. Happy Friday to everybody, and thanks for joining us. Haven't done a show in a little bit because I've been traveling a little bit, and we went up to Canada, did some fishing up there with James Macbeth and Dennis, and then visited, of course, our good friend Will. Then went to Florida, Lee County, Matt Lachey. Had a really good time there. For once, I went to Florida and didn't have terrible weather. We had one day of rain, but overall, it was a really, really nice trip. The fishing was a little bit tough because there'd been a red tide. But I did, as you've seen pictures probably, I did catch my very first cobia ever. So I was very, very stoked about that. I mean, what a tough fish. I caught it in about 3 feet of water on a little bass rod. Caught it on the Sebile Band of Anglers dart spin. Of course, that thing's got about 30 different species on it now. So that was a heck of a fight. I mean, I really enjoyed it. And then last weekend I was in Louisiana. My daughter was moving, so my wife and I decided to go out there and surprise her and help her move. So there's my excuses for having not done a show in a little bit. A couple of things I wanted to get to before I bring our guest on. If you saw the post recently where I had lost my PLB, personal locator beacon, and I thought it had been taken by TSA because it does have a lithium-ion battery in it. So there was a lot of speculation where it went. Apparently, while we were moving around in the dark, moving gear, it actually fell out of my bag or fell off my PFD in Florida, but I had never seen it. So got a call the other day from Air Force Search and Rescue. Somebody had activated the PLB for a minute or so, but then they had also called Coast Guard and said they had found it. They put me in contact with the location, which was Tarpon Lodge, and they were able to get this back to me. So I now have my PLB back, and I always like to have this on my PFD. It's just another great safety tool. So very, very happy to get that back. Glad I didn't have to buy a new one. Some local news. It's been kind of lousy weather here the last few days, but just got word earlier today. I mean, a heck of an accomplishment by one of our, not local, but California kayak anglers. He hooked and fought, did not land. He says he leadered it, a swordfish, deep dropping off of his kayak. Never been done out here before. The times that swordfish have been caught off kayaks, tiny little fish that I've ever seen, nothing spectacular. This was a good fish. He was on it about 5 hours, he said. So trying to get a little bit more information from him on that. Maybe we'll even get him on here to talk about it. I know he is now like fired up to try and actually do it again and actually land one. So that's absolutely amazing. But like I said, that's his thing. If we can get him on here and he wants to share the information, we'll try and get him on. So say hello to a couple people here. David, how you doing, man? Gene, thank you for joining us. Sean Russell, always a viewer. Thank you, man. Kelly, thanks for coming on here. Yeah, Gene, the Canada trip was just awesome. It was actually kind of fun to be on a kayak fishing trip and not have a camera, just to fish and relax and hang out with the guys. Mark McKenna, hello, Jim. Got to get back to work. We'll watch later. And that's the thing, guys. You can always watch this on replay. So you have that opportunity. We will be doing a drawing after this show for a Kokatat PFD, but we're going to give you 24 hours. So if you watch the show after the fact and you comment and you share it, you are going to have a chance to win that PFD still. So you got 24 hours. So don't worry about watching the show while it's on. I know a lot of people watch it later, particularly with us doing this thing in the middle of the afternoon on a Friday. The reason we do it this time, if you've ever wondered, is because basically we have viewers from all over the world, and this kind of ends up in a decent time slot for the people on the East Coast and for other places as well. Liam Young from Ireland. How awesome is that? I say it over and over and over, and he's watching actually on our YouTube channel. I just can't get enough of having people on here from all over the world. So I'd love to go to Ireland. It looks like such a beautiful country. One place I have not been. We got Serge from Ottawa. So how you doing, man? Donald, hi, it's always a great hour. I hope you're talking about my show, and it's a happy hour. Let's be happy and drink a beer. I always enjoy it. So anyway, with no further ado, I'm going to bring on Matt Porter from Kokatat, who has volunteered his time to come here and join us today, but also, again, they're going to be giving away a Leviathan PFD from Kokatat. You do need to like, comment, share, for your opportunity, for your chance to win. That's what helps get the word out about these sponsors and makes them want to come here and do that and give away stuff. So, one thing I wanted to talk about real quick. I've been showing this. You can get a discount on the Cyber Fishing Rod Sensor. They're giving a 15% discount if you use Cyber Gym. But I posted about it earlier. They are doing a Black Friday kind of deal, and it's going to last a couple of days. And they're actually giving 30% off. So I put a link up earlier on the show, or on the show page. So please take a look at that. If you've been thinking about getting one of these things, it's a super cool item. I really think you would like it. And like I said, it's kind of an electronic fishing log. So unlike other ones, it actually doesn't just count where you're at and when you catch a fish, but it's also every cast. So you not only know where you caught a fish, but you know where you didn't catch a fish, which is pretty cool. So we had a couple more. Hey, John, how you doing? Chris, thanks for joining us. Kelly, thank you for sharing. And John Anderson, again, watching on YouTube. Hey, from Columbia, South Carolina. Have you tried the new Big Fish 108 pedal drive? If so, what's your opinion? No, I haven't. I actually just posted something about it the other day that I am a paddler. I really enjoy paddling. Pedals definitely have their place, but my biggest thing is paddling. Jackson does have some pedal boats, and I do work with Jackson Kayak. So if I'm in a pedal boat, those are the ones I've tried out. So unfortunately, I have not tried that. Maybe somebody else can chime in that has. Say hello really quick to my buddy Ulf Johansson from Sweden. Can't wait to see you guys very, very soon in Thailand, Ulf. Anyway, let's get him out of here. Let's get Matt up on the screen because he's been sitting there waiting patiently. Matt, how are you, man?
Good. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, anytime. Cheers. Happy Friday. I know you're in the office. You couldn't have a bigger
Friday.
The advantages of having my home office.
Yeah, of a home office.
So, Matt, you are with Kokatat. What do you do at Kokatat?
My official title is I'm the product manager, but I pretty much do a lot of stuff with product development. I'm kind of the liaison between the sales and marketing department and our design team. And then I also run the website. Okay.
So as any small kind of company, because it's not a big company, everybody wears a lot of hats.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
And it is a great company. Like I said, it's right here in California. Everything is made here, right?
Yeah, 90% of our revenue is from products that are made in Arcata. We do have some stuff that's not made in Arcata, like our neoprene, for instance, is not made in Arcata. It's made offshore. So.
Gotcha. Well, Kokatat has been a sponsor of my show for a long time. Big fan of the product, and it's not just PFDs. Everybody knows that I am the PFD guy. I get on everybody about wearing PFDs, but not only PFDs, but proper paddling clothing for the environment that you're in. And so we want to touch on all of these different things today.
Sure.
So everybody, if you have any questions, throw them out there for Matt, and he can answer them all. And I'll try and throw some out there as well. We have one viewer that we probably should say hello to, and it's not coming. There it is. Lisa Kincaid.
Lisa can have a beer. She works with me because she has a home office. So
yeah, she's probably sitting there sipping a beer watching us right now. And Joker 60 says Kokatat, awesome gear. And Jeff says hello. So, you and I were talking yesterday, kind of going over what we might chat about. And one of those things that I thought people might be interested in is that whole process. I know there is a lot more, and this was something I discovered recently when you and I were we were discussing different designs and different features on PFDs, and it's not like you can just go in and change something on a PFD, is it? I mean, there's a lot goes in behind.
Yeah.
Designing a PFD.
You could just do it, but like once the Coast Guard figures out you did it, then you get in some trouble. Yeah, it's like we talked about, life jacket design is more complicated than say dry suit design, just because you can't just do it and do the internal testing and the field testing with your team to verify it. You also have to submit it to the governing body to get it approved, just like, I don't know, not as complicated, but like cars have to go through crash test certification. It's the same kind of thing. The weird thing about it is we sell vests in the US, in Canada, and then in Europe, and each of those are different governing bodies. So we have to submit the same vest to get tested by 3 different agencies, which complicates stuff.
So for people who maybe don't know or understand all the different, because there are different types of PFDs, right? There are different classes of PFDs.
Yeah, Like most of the stuff we're dealing with, especially for kayak fishing, until you get into like swiftwater rescue or like guide type stuff for whitewater or sea kayaking, is what's called a Type 3. At least in the U.S. Coast Guard, it's a Type 3. And that just means basically it's a general PFD. It's usually for paddling. It'll have on the label, it'll say Type 3, and the intended use will usually say like sailing, boating, stuff like that. So it's different from like a jet ski vest, I guess, where there's some additional requirements where you have to throw a dummy out of a speeding ski boat and make sure that the life jacket doesn't fall off of it as he skips down the water. So,
that makes sense, I guess.
Yeah. One of the more fun tests, but we don't get to do that one.
So what else would differentiate a class 3 versus, like you said, a rescue vest or a vest that's made to keep your head above water versus not?
Sure. Yeah, like there's the rescue ones are like they're classified as Type 5 vests, and the main difference of that is they'll have a tow system harness that's a quick release belt. Like if you've ever seen either raft guides or you see the local fire department and they've got the black belt around their vest with the big red pull cord on it, that's a rescue vest.
I got one right here.
That's it. Yeah.
So there's
exactly.
that pull cord.
Yeah. So that's the main difference. I mean, there's some internal stuff, reinforcement to take the additional load of the tow belt, but that's the main difference. And then there's the cushions on your motorized boat. Those are usually Type 2. And then there's also some type 5s, like the raft customer vest, where they flip you over when you're unconscious. That's another, the one with the pillow on the back of it that flips up when you're in the water. So
we have a comment from Jean Wilson, and Jean Wilson's, one of the great ladies of kayak fishing. She says, "Hi, Matt. Kokatat was a very generous sponsor of the Pan American Bass Kayak Championship this year. Thank you so much."
You're welcome. Glad we can support the local events.
Yeah, and you guys always have, and that's one of the things that's always, again, dealing with a great little company. I know a lot of people, you get hit up a lot. People are always coming to you guys with their hand out, and you can only do so much. But I know you guys try to do as much as is humanly possible. So that's always cool. But, like I said, everybody knows that I am the PFD guy. I get on everybody about wearing PFDs. This guy actually who we were talking about earlier about the swordfish from the kayak, he posted a picture of himself fighting the fish, and he's not wearing a PFD. Like a swordfish is one of the gnarliest fish out there. I mean, they're strong as hell. They are mean fish. They will come up and just tear you up. So I private messaged him, and I'm like, "Please, dude, put on a PFD." So what do you think? What can we do to get more people wearing PFDs? I mean, what do we have to do? Because I preach it and preach it and preach it. Unfortunately, people do run into trouble, and people have lost their lives while kayak fishing.
Sure.
And most of them are not wearing a PFD.
Right. Yeah. I think it's definitely a cultural thing within the sport, possibly, because and it's, how do we change that cultural norm of, well, I don't need a PFD, I know how to swim, or I'm on my boat, so I don't need a PFD. As a manufacturer, one thing is having, team guys and sponsored events, our marketing, like when you see stuff from Kokatat, our people have life jackets on. So that's right. Part of it. Design.
And I would like to see, I'd like to see the publications. I don't want, I hate to see more laws, but if we can at least, as a industry, the magazines, the publications, don't publish pictures of guys without them on, and the manufacturers not promote their team guys unless they're wearing a PFD.
Right.
Those are and just all of us just try to educate everybody else.
Yeah.
That's our biggest thing is, and I've probably said this a million times. Is like, if anybody wants to see how fastly things can go wrong, how fastly? Did I say fastly? And how fast things can go wrong is, there are videos online. You look it up. Kayak angler hit by boat. And it happens like that, and when things go wrong, it's not like you plan on it going wrong and then you can go get that PFD, and things go wrong in a hurry. So, you just got to try and encourage people to wear them all the time. I hate putting up the articles because I don't think it's good for the sport, putting up articles that kayak angler dies.
Right.
But, the thing is, that's the reality. And most of the time that kayak or that PFD is strapped to the deck of their kayak. So right. The kayak survived, but they didn't.
Right. Well, you see the same thing in like the SUP culture too, where they're going through like a similar cultural difference where a lot of them are coming from the surfing background. So they don't, or that style. That sport is very much surf centric, even if like a SUP paddler is just out in the bay and they're not going to surf anything, but they're right. Like, well, I don't need a life jacket because the surfer guy doesn't have a life jacket on. So there's that whole, it's similar, I guess.
Yeah, no, very much so. I surf, I don't wear a PFD when I surf. So it's, I get that, but I guess in comparison, most of the time when you're surfing, you do have a leash on. So right. At least if you do fall, you do have something floating next to you, where the kayak can get pushed away from you. You're not tied to the darn thing, anything like that. So for people who are just joining us, we have Matt with us from Kokatat, and they have very generously are going to be giving away a Leviathan PFD, which is a great fishing PFD. That's the one I've posted some pictures of me wearing it, and I've been wearing it for the last season. But in order to be eligible to win, you must comment, like, share this video. And again, that can be whether it's in a replay, because we're not going to draw until tomorrow. So make sure you do that if you want to be eligible to win a Leviathan PFD. We got a few more comments on here. Larry says that's great product. George is saying hello from Texas. David from Southwest Virginia. We got Long Beach, New York, watching again on YouTube. I'm really liking this because we're getting more viewers now that we've started broadcasting to both. Starting to get a lot more engagement with people watching on the YouTube channel as well. So I appreciate everybody who does watch our show over there. Again, Jerry says make it a law. And actually, what do you think about that?
I mean, I'm kind of more for personal responsibility. I mean, I think you should see what circumstances you're on and make a educated guess from there. I mean, I understand some stuff you need laws for, but I know, coming from a whitewater kayaking background, I guess it's never really been a thought process. It's just like, I need a life jacket as much as I need a paddle,
right,
to go out. And I mean, I think because that's how I got introduced to the sport. It's like, I feel naked if I don't have a life jacket with me. So,
and I think that's a good point, actually, is if you get in the habit of wearing a PFD, it does feel weird not to have one on.
Mm-hmm.
I've gone on trips where we shipped them down and they didn't show up. So we actually had to do a shoot without PFDs. And it feels very weird. If you're used to wearing one every time you're on the water, it feels very odd not to have one on. But I think another thing that would help to get people to wear them is to wear stuff by companies like Kokatat. Wear one that is made for kayaking or kayak fishing, because they're much more comfortable. Like we were talking about the differences, you mentioned the differences between a water ski vest versus a paddling vest. They're designed completely different as far as how they fit on your body. And if it's comfortable, you're more likely to wear it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I mean, that's a good example. The water ski vests, they're usually a longer torso. They're a neoprene material, so they don't breathe well. So, and a kayaking specific vest is going to be a shorter torso because you're sitting in a boat. So you need to be able to sit down without your legs running into the bottom of the life jacket and riding up, by your ears because of it. But yeah, buying a vest that's specifically for the activity that you're doing. So, which includes, like on a fishing vest, it could include a high back. So the bottom half of your back of the vest is mesh, so that the seat back integrates with you and doesn't, push you forward. It could be a thinner back, could be pocket placement, how you get it on, how you get the vest on and off. So,
right. Yeah. And try them on. Actually, Luke, kind of brings up a point here. He's like, I'm a huge fan of Kokatat PFDs, but I feel it's super hard to find them in stores on the East Coast. I really like trying them on before purchasing. And that's key. It is nice to be able to try them on, to find the one that fits you properly. And along that lines, what I say is, don't just try them on, try it on and sit in a kayak.
Yeah, exactly.
See how it does feel with your kayak, with that seat on your kayak. Because it does make a big difference.
Yeah, and that's the local shop's the best place to go do that, because they'll have a boat in there. You can jump in there. Just a little bit of a pitch. We do offer free return shipping from our website. So if you can't find a local dealer that has one, you could order it from us, and it's free return shipping, and you can return it if it doesn't work, as long as it's still got the tags on it and you haven't used it yet. So, yeah.
And like I said, I think that it's just bottom line, it comes down to comfort. I mean, I for years wore a whitewater PFD versus any kind of a fishing PFD, because I find them a little bit more comfortable. I feel like I have more freedom of motion with my arms and being a paddler, and I'm not into all the pockets per se. So that's the nice thing, is like Kokatat's got so many different PFDs. You can find one that fits you right and that you like the comfort of. So again, if it's comfortable, you're more likely to wear it. Bob Geis says, wear my PFD all the time, and I grew up as a competitive swimmer. Yeah, because being a competitive swimmer is not going to help you if you get hit in the head, or something like that, or, you fall in the water, and God forbid you fall in the water and don't know how to get back on your kayak, because I've certainly seen that enough times. It's all part of the whole safety thing. You should know how to do that self-rescue and all that.
Right. And water temperature has a huge part factor in being able to function. If you fall in the water and it's too cold, like, you could be a collegiate level swimmer, but you're not going to make it very far.
Right. Hypothermia is a real thing. I went in the water. I was actually kayak surfing. I mean, I'll admit it. This was probably 25 years ago. I was out kayak surfing out at Point Loma here, and I was just wearing wetsuit shorts, and it was in winter, and I didn't have a PFD on. And I went in the water, got just destroyed by a huge wave, had to swim for my kayak. By the time I got on my kayak and managed to paddle back to shore, which was a couple miles, I was damn near hypothermic. I learned my lesson then, and it's, for me, it's always been PFDs all the time. And like I said, wearing one that fits properly. If anybody has seen the video of me almost drowning on the Ottawa River, that was simply a matter of me putting on a PFD that was not mine. I grabbed somebody else's and didn't do my normal cinch it down. Because when I wear a PFD, I wear it tight. Because I always say is, you want the PFD to move with you. You don't want to move inside the PFD. And because you're going to get more chafing and such. But then when you go in the water, which happened to me, I went in the water and the PFD is over my face. So wearing the one that fits you properly and that you have put on properly, I have to kind of really squish that thing together to get it on. But once it's on, it feels right.
Right. Yeah.
Jeff says, I know it may seem a bit crude to some people, but start showing pics of drowning victims. Jim used the word reality. That's what a lot of people need to see, the reality of the situation. Yeah, we try to avoid that because, again, I try not to push it that hard. Because, I mean, like I said, it's not good for business to say somebody died doing the sport. But most of them, when it happens, again, they're going out in conditions that are beyond their abilities. Not wearing the proper clothing, wearing cotton jeans, sweatshirts, and not wearing that all-important PFD. But besides the PFD, we can just kind of step into it a little bit, is proper clothing. Kokatat has everything, right, for the proper clothing and wearing the proper gear for the conditions.
Yeah. I mean, we make everything from full dry suits to sun protection shirts, like the full range of the weather and conditions you're going to find on the water. So, and it's really important to dress for the water conditions. If you're doing stuff in the cold, where the water's cold, you want something to protect you from that cold, so you don't get hypothermic, or just so while you're on your boat, you're comfortable and having a good time. You're out on the water longer because you're not getting cold, or
Right.
You're not overheating because the thing you're in is breathing and working properly, and you have the proper layers under it, so it's working, as a complete system.
Right, and that's what I always say. It is a system. It's like, for instance, I love the Kokatat bibs with the stocking foot. I mean, they're so much more comfortable than your basic waders. But it is part of a system. I would never go out in something like that without a PFD on. And most of the time it is combined with a paddling jacket. So though it may not be a full dry suit, it's pretty close for the few minutes that I might be in the water, because I do know how to self-rescue.
Right. Well, and that's all part of the equation. It's like, what are the conditions you're going out in? What's your skill level? What are the potential issues you might have? And that can determine what you need. But like you said, the bibs, you wouldn't go out. The bibs are great, but if you went out with the bibs with a pair of Levi's under them, they're not great. But if you have a, if you have a wicking base layer on, and then
which you guys also have, right?
Yep. Yeah, we offer, synthetic base layers. We also offer a wool base layer called wool core, and then a fleece over that, depending on the air temperature and the water temperature. Then you're going to stay dry and comfortable. But you need those, you need those technical pieces of clothing under the waterproof layer so that it'll move the moisture away from your body, and then it moves out through the waterproof breathable layer of the bib.
Right. And I'll tell you what, I mean, I see people, and I did the same thing. Like I said, back in the day, I was wearing wetsuit shorts and a polypropylene shirt, and that's all I would wear out there. And I'd wear that year round, and wetsuit booties on my feet. But now it's like, what took me so long? Because I tell you what, when it's wintertime, and I don't care even here where it doesn't get super cold, it sure is nice to have dry feet.
Yeah. That can ruin your day quicker than anything.
Oh yeah. You get that ache of your feet and stuff. But having a warm foot with a wool sock on your foot underneath that Gore-Tex stocking foot that you have on the pants, as well as your dry suits, as well as the bibs. I mean, it makes all the difference in the world. Lisa says, remember when people skied without helmets? Now it feels so weird. Yeah, people have embraced the safety aspect, so that's always good to see. When you're thinking about, what level, because you guys have different levels of product, what are you looking at, say one dry suit versus the next? Is it a matter of the design, or do you look at the activity as well as the conditions that you'll be in?
As far for choosing something to wear that day?
Somebody's looking at a different, say if they're from Northern California, it's definitely bigger water, colder water up there, or they're from the East Coast, or definitely colder water. Definitely dry suit's the way to go. But how do you pick the right one?
I mean, there's a number of things you can do. I mean, it's a lot of it's the conditions you're going out in, what your price point is. Like, the nice thing about our product line is we make we're known for our Gore-Tex suits, Gore-Tex dry suits, but we also make a full line of stuff that's a non-Gore-Tex that's still made in Arcata. It's still a waterproof breathable fabric, but it's at a lower price point. So that's one option. Like, what can your pocketbook take the hit for,
Right.
The other option is what's the intended use? Like, a lot of guys up here that kayak fish will wear a full dry suit when they're doing offshore stuff. But that same guy might have a semi-dry suit if he's just going in like Trinidad Bay or something like that, where you're in the ocean, but you're in a protected bay, so you're not going to have the chance of you ending up in the water because of a rogue wave or something are really slim. And if you fall in, you're in protected water, so you're climbing back in. You're not going to spend a lot of time underwater, I guess. Whereas guys that are going out through the break or something, and it's winter, they'll probably wear a full dry suit because they could be taking waves over the deck.
Yeah, and I'll tell you what, if you don't have that protection of at least having a jacket that seals around your neck, versus the full dry suit, but at least having something that seals around your neck, because if you have to punch through surf and that first wave goes down into your jacket and down into your set, you're cold from the word go.
Yeah, you might as well turn around and head in, because it's the rest of the day is not going to be fun.
Yeah, so like I said, and again, you guys have the paddling stuff, everything from, I guess, what you would call splash gear to full submersion type of stuff, right?
Yeah, and a lot of guys most guys with fishing, the semi-dry suits, like our Gore Angler or our Supernova Angler and the Hydrus fabric, is what if they need a full suit for fishing, that's what they'll go with. And it's a full dry suit, except the neck is like a punch through neoprene neck instead of the latex gasket. So it's a little more comfortable.
Yeah, they're definitely more comfortable.
Yeah. So long, if you're in them, you could be in them for a long time. So you might as well have that comfort. And if you do end up in the water, it's dry enough like that you're gonna stay warm and comfortable.
Right. Well, I'm going to bring up the Kokatat website here just so people can kind of get a look at it. I think I need to change something real quick. Boom. And we'll bring this up. Oh, I forgot to change that. The women's kayak fishing with Drew Gregory. Sorry. But it's a great website. Although there we go. It's got articles in it from your brand ambassadors. It's got all the different products. And what I really like is the fact that when you go to shop, you can break it down by all these different categories, including the activity. So there's a kayak fishing section. And then there's straight up, if they're just looking for live vests, go to that, and you have all the different categories there as well. Anything new that we want to point out?
You can go to the new arrivals if you want to.
There's new arrivals. There we go.
Yeah, we've got a lot of new sea kayaking stuff this year, but there's also some new splash jackets. If you scroll down a little bit, that Jetty Jacket is a really nice piece. It's a splash jacket, but it's got a detachable hood on it.
I love it because I am not a fan of hoods.
It's got a nice fleece collar on it too, so that's been a really popular piece for sit-on tops.
There we go. Available in a couple different colors there.
Yeah, we've got bright and not so bright.
Yeah, I kind of like the not so bright. I'm not so bright. And you guys I've also seen in the past, particularly for the people that are wearing the dry suits, you guys have the full service there if people need to replace gaskets or anything like that.
Yeah. We have a full service facility that's inside the factory. So we can do water tests, we can do gasket replacements, warranty evaluations, but if you buy a suit, it's going to last you for a long time, and you might punch a hole in it, so you need to send it in and get a patch or something. That's a service we offer.
That's good. What is the what would you recommend? I'm going to drop this back down. Put us back up. What do you recommend as far as taking care of, say, your dry suits or any of your paddling gear?
Sure. The most important thing to do is make sure that you dry them out in between uses, or that, if you're going enough that you're going out, but if you're going to store it for any time, definitely make sure it's dry and clean. You don't need to wash it every time you use it, but it's a good idea, especially if you're in salt water or any kind of like estuary where it's mixed fresh and salt water, that you rinse it with fresh water after every use, because salt water can be pretty nasty, on pretty much anything, right?
Right.
all your kayak hardware, your fishing gear, and on the suits too, like that. The salt can crystallize on the fabric, and it can start working into the face fabric, and then it can shorten the life of that. So, but making sure it's dry, you're not storing it, in the trunk of your car wet on a sunny day, is a good thing to avoid. So,
what about the zips?
The zippers, the nylon zippers are pretty self-sufficient, but you do want to wax them every once in a while. There's a zip tap wax that looks like a big chapstick tube, and you can wax your zipper with that, and that'll keep that from getting damaged. Sand and salt are probably the nastiest things, and dirt for your zipper. So again, making sure you rinse spray off the outside of your suit is really important. Same with your life jackets,
Yeah, because they get funky if you don't.
And then with the socks, the big thing is when you're changing into your stuff, don't put something down, put the floor mat of your truck down to change on it or change on a tarp. Don't sit in the gravel parking lot and suit up and punch a hole in the bottom of your sock,
right.
before
And
you
then
hit the water.
over the top of that sock, some kind of water shoe, or I know Kokatat again has the wetsuit booty type of shoe.
Yep.
Over the top of it to protect them.
Yeah.
Because, again, that's the part you're going to damage the fastest if you don't take care of it.
Yeah.
Serge has a question here. On most of your fishing PFDs, are the pockets waterproof?
They aren't. None of them are waterproof. We tried to make some of the pockets so they would hold a waterproof case, like a smaller waterproof case. But we don't have any that are waterproof by themselves.
Yeah, it's hard because most of them are just Velcroed over and flaps, and it's hard. I think anything you're keeping in those pockets should be stuff that's pretty bulletproof,
right?
In all honesty. Luke says, "Thanks for the info. Seems like Kokatat has better styling and more functionality on fishing PFDs." And again, it does come down to personal choice and what you like in a PFD. I know a lot of guys like all those pockets, and for me, I like attachment points, so having the ability to have one versus the other, I want some pockets, but I personally, because I'm not putting a lot of stuff in my pockets, I prefer that they don't have a lot of pockets. That's why, again, another reason I used to wear a whitewater PFD, because I didn't need the pockets.
Sure. And I think going back, that a lot of people are coming from, their experience with life jackets is either the ones that dad used to store, under the seat, or the one you had to put on at Boy Scout camp that looked like a toilet liner.
Yeah, the horseshoe thing.
So going in and actually seeing what's available and trying them on, and you're like, oh, these are comfortable. It's not going to feel like I'm wearing a toilet bowl liner over my neck.
Right. Yeah. And like I said, you get into the habit of wearing them, it makes so much difference. And honestly, another thing is there's a lot of them, you have the thin back, which definitely helps with your seating position, but don't forget, you can also adjust your seat to make up for that difference. So there's all kinds of ways to make it feel right. And you just have to play with that. Chris Lemon says it's a law to wear your seatbelt in a car. I feel it should be law to you wear a PFD while you're on your kayak. We lost too many kayakers in Texas this year due to no PFD. And again, we keep getting back to this, but I always say if you're not thinking about yourself, think about the people that are going to miss you when you're gone and the anguish you're going to put them through. And if you don't have any of those people, think about the people who have to go out and try and find you and the danger you could be putting them in. The PFD, like I said, in that cold water situation, hypothermia is real. And you start not being able to function, well, that PFD is going to keep you afloat and might give you those couple of extra minutes for somebody to find you and to help you out. And it does make a big difference, to have that thing on. And like I said, I'm going to preach this until I'm no longer talking, because I think it's that important that people do wear a PFD. And again, I don't know that we necessarily need to make it a law, but maybe we don't make it a law and just start thinning out the herd.
On river, again, coming from the whitewater side, it is a law on most rivers, on a lot of spots where you have to wear a PFD. Like if a ranger finds you without a life jacket, you'll get popped for it.
Is that right?
Yeah. It's area to area, but especially if you're on any kind of permitted river, that's usually a requirement where they'll actually check you. There'll be a ranger at the put in check-in to make sure you have an approved PFD. Everyone in your group has one. Some places even require a backup one, like if it's a multi-day section, where you're having it's like patch kit, first aid kit, extra life jacket. Like that's part of what you need.
Yeah, well, it makes sense. It totally makes sense. Gene Wilson says, I saw that near fiasco on the Ottawa. That made me pay more attention to the fit. And that's the Ottawa where I almost drowned. Actually, if anybody wants to see that, I did post up the video while I visited Canada of that section where I almost drowned. I kind of revisited it. I didn't run it.
A lot of water on the Ottawa.
Jeff Krasinski, does anyone make a dry suit in extra tall sizes?
Yeah, we do. Our full dry suits, we offer custom sizing on them. So we don't offer that on the semi-dry suits, but our full dry suits, we do custom sizing. You can we have a custom fit thing on our website that you can go to.
Where would I find that?
Right at the top next to shop, it says custom.
Custom.
You go there. And then scroll down a little bit, and you can pick what suit you want. If you scroll past the hippie guy in the video, and then you choose your suit, and in there you can choose colors, and also you can enter your measurements, and it'll give you a sizing recommendations, including if you need a stock size or if you need to lengthen or shorten a stock size. And then we build it for you.
That's awesome. That is a weird one. I don't want to go somewhere where it's so cold I have to wear it.
Well, the hood's removable on that one, so you can look cool in the parking lot and then take it off. Or actually,
gotcha. Actually, speaking of fit, and because we did have a comment from Gene, obviously women's bodies are different than men's for the most part. Are you making PFDs specific for women to fit them a little bit better?
Yeah, I mean we try to pay attention to the differences in basically torso shapes of men and women. When we're designing life jackets. One of our most popular ones is the Misfit Vest, which is specifically designed for a woman. But
bring her back up again.
Yeah.
Back to shop
and
women
life vests.
Life vests. There we go.
Yeah. And that one's was originally designed off of like a princess seam dress, so it wraps on your torso. It's down there a little farther. There, the Misfit Tour.
Oh, right there.
Yeah. And I mean, some of the other features, it has a shorter torso on it. This is also one of our most popular men's vests because some of the stuff that makes it a good women's fit makes it a good men's fit too, like how it wraps around you. But we have the Leviathan, which is our newer kayak fishing vest. We paid a lot of attention to women's shapes on that one. There's a scoop out in the Leviathan, so that it'll fit the chest area.
So they're basically not necessarily specific women's, but basically kind of geared towards a true unisex.
Yeah, I guess the way to say a true unisex, but making sure that it actually fits a woman's body correctly. Because mostly when you say, oh, it's a unisex, it's like, well, we made sure it fit a dude, and then like we made an extra small so the ladies could wear it too. Whereas we're making sure when we're developing a vest that it does fit on a full range of women's sizes as well as the men's.
That's good. David, I've never been one to wear a PFD. Used to fish a lot of bass tourneys and bass boats. Only had to wear when motor was on. Hard to make myself wear mine, but have to be an example for my son, which we are bass fishing tourneys now. Took a bit, but wouldn't do it any other way now. I mean, like I said, even on the boat, and we have a boat, and I've got my PFDs on the boat. I don't always wear it, but if it even looks dicey at all, when I was in Florida the last day, we were there filming this tournament, and that day the weather went completely sideways. So I stayed on the film boat to help them film and move around. And just because I didn't feel like paddling in the stormy conditions, but even on the boat, I was wearing that PFD all day. Because again, you have to be safe. And I know a lot of my friends that have boats wear their PFDs on the boat as well. And like I said, it's just making it a habit. Make it a habit. That's one of the biggest things. Bob Guy says he loves his Kokatat dry suit. That's awesome.
Awesome.
David Morris, I used to wear an automatic inflating PFD when I had my bass boat. I wear a regular PFD now that I am on my kayak fishing. It's, of course, I loved the CO2. That's the one I wore for a long time. But the reason I wore the CO2 over an inflatable is it has inherent flotation. So you're going to float. You don't have to rely on a mechanism working. So in this situation, you're out on your own, you're on your own kayak. You don't have somebody there who can help you if you run into trouble most of the time. You want that flotation. You don't want to have to rely on something either that you have to manually inflate or that you have to, like I said, the automatic inflations. And there's nothing funnier than when somebody goes through a wave or something and the plate blows up in their face.
Yeah, I've seen that before.
Egowitz, how you doing, buddy? He is in Spain. And Gene Wilson says, "Hi, Egowitz." Wow, I just zoomed through a whole bunch of stuff here on accident. John says, "Nice winter right around the corner and need some new gear." And that's really, you bring that up. Winter, when that water and air gets colder, you do need to be prepared. And I think you were mentioning earlier, it's not just the air temperature. You got to dress for that water temperature, right?
Right. That's the whole point. You got to think about both of them when you're going out for the day, because you need your gear to keep you, dry and comfortable while you're in the boat. But if something happens where you end up out of the boat for a little bit, you want to, you don't want it to become a dangerous situation because you get hypothermic, So you want to be able to function, get back in your boat, and then, after you get in your boat, not have to go in because you're worried about getting too cold. You can keep fishing. Or, it could be as simple as you get the right gear, so if it's a crappy day, you can still go out. Like your comfort, your comfort level or comfort range is expanded by good gear. So
right. And again, just even that little thing like I was talking about before, just having dry feet. Because if anybody's seen me, they always see me dropping my feet in the water. I do it all the time. And if you're having to launch through the surf, you're walking through the water most of the time. It's hard to launch a kayak without stepping in the water. Having dry feet is huge. It goes a long way in keeping your whole body warm. And then again, having those correct layers, because if you're not wearing the correct layers, as we kind of touched on earlier, if you're not wearing the correct layers underneath, it gets pretty damp and clammy in there. So having those layers that wick away the moisture, right?
Yeah. It's all about that. It becomes a closed environment, inside of your suit or your bib or something. And that can get nasty pretty quick if you don't have, the right layering underneath it. So
yeah, for sure. Luke actually brought up one of your products. Huge fan of the dirt bag. Keeping a PFD and gear clean and dry is super important. What's a dirt bag?
So the dirt bag is is a gear bag we make. It's if you go into our
again.
Yeah, I think it's under our. If you go to the hats the hats one down towards the bottom. Hats, shirts, hoodies,
hats, shirts, hoodies.
and then if you scroll towards the bottom, you'll find it. But it's a gear bag. It's similar to a travel gear bag, but it's specifically for kayaking gear. So we've got it's got the backpack shoulders on it, so it's easy to carry around. There's also a big mesh top, so the main pocket has a mesh top there. Your gear your gear's wet, so you can put your gear in there. It'll dry out. We've got pockets on both ends, as you can see. Those yellow zippers on the ends. One's is a shoe compartment with a drain at the bottom, so that you keep your gross, nasty shoes away from your nice dry suit and your life jacket and all your layering. And then we've also got on the bottom there's a included tarp that comes out of that bottom zippered pocket to change on, so that you don't poke a hole in your socks when you're changing. So
that is great. No, I've actually never seen that.
Yeah, it's a newer product. We just got it in, or just started selling it a few months ago. But
I'll have to put that on my wish list. Lisa, are you listening?
Yeah, but we made sure it's got enough. It's enough. It's a 90-liter bag, so you've got enough room to get a suit, shoes, insulation, life jacket all in there.
Oh, your PFD will fit in there as well.
PFD will fit in there as well. Yeah.
Yeah. That's oh yeah, in that picture you kind of see the PFD there. Yeah. That's awesome.
It's not check-on size for an airline, but you could probably get away with it. Or carry-on size.
Yeah, no, that's. I mean, it looks like it's very well thought out. Like I said, you're just having that mesh on top, so you're not enclosing all the nastiness in there.
Yep, and the bottom's a bucket style, so it's got a waterproof bottom on it. And then it's got some, you saw compression straps on the outside, and there's some lash points where you can get a carabiner through, so it doesn't pop out of the back of your pickup truck when you're driving around. So,
let's see. I know I saw a question here for you. I want to make sure. Well, Richard Yakfish says, "What about fly fishing waders?" Well, I said the bibs are very close to that, and for me, they're much more comfortable because they have the Gore-Tex sock instead of that thick neoprene sock. So for me, the Kokatat bibs totally replaced me ever wearing my what you would consider a traditional fly fishing waders. I think they're much more comfortable. David says, would love to get the Leviathan, was looking to purchase next month. Would you recommend for a bigger guy, or is one of your others ones better using it for bass fishing? Well, I don't know, David, how big of a guy are you? Because I'm not small. I'm not huge, but I mean, I'm over 230, and that Leviathan fits me really well. What do you think, Matt?
Yeah, I mean, I'd recommend, depending on his size, I'd recommend the Leviathan. I think it's probably our most comfortable one for fishing specific. If he goes bigger than that, we do have the Aries life jacket. It's more of a less pockets and stuff, but it would probably fit a little bigger than the Leviathan. But the Leviathan fits a pretty big chest size. So.
Joker's 60. Do you have a question for Kokatat? With their mass suit, will do the alterations on? I'm not understanding the question. Do you understand that?
I do. So the mass suit is a suit we make for one of our government contracts, and we don't sell it to the consumer market. So we wouldn't offer alterations. I mean, we offer it is what it is through the program. I'm assuming if he has one, it's through his work. So,
but I mean, if he needed alterations, can you guys help him out with that, or?
He should call in to our repair facility. A lot of those have a contract associated with them, so it's just handled differently.
Gotcha. David said, Morris, I thought about that, but if you flip and it fills up, then it might fill up too fast. Well, the bibs actually, and I assume that's what you're talking about, the bibs actually have a neoprene kind of waist on it that kind of acts as a wading belt. But again, we always think about these things as the whole package, making sure you have that PFD on, making sure that if you're wearing a paddling jacket over the top of it, that also helps with water getting in there. But what you will find, and I did a video on this years ago, if you jump in the water in lightweight breathables or these bibs, the water pressure actually pushes down on the garment and doesn't allow water in. Now, if you're in the water for a long time flailing around, you're going to get water in there. But it's actually not that easy to get water in it. And like I said, in the rough water conditions, tumbling around, that's a different story. But just falling off the kayak, I mean, I was diving off the side of a pool with lightweight breathables on and getting very, very little water in them. And that was without wearing a wading belt or anything. So,
and also we have some jackets with a double tunneled waist on them. They'll actually roll into the waders or the whirlpool bibs so that you can make a dry system with that. So you just roll the two pieces of fabric together like a dry bag, and then you can seal it with the outer tunnel of the jacket and then your life jacket on top of that, and you can get a really dry seal that way.
Very cool. Liam, we're going to try and crank through some questions because it's already been an hour. What size of boots would you wear over a full dry suit? I wear trainers every time out. I mean, me personally, and that's why I love the Gore-Tex stocking foot, is I'm wearing the same size as a normal shoe, maybe a hair bigger because I've got socks on plus the stocking foot, but it's almost the same size as your normal shoe or a sandal or something like that. It's more a matter of protecting that booty. You don't have to go, like I said, I mean, I've had the neoprene stocking foot waders and, you're wearing a size 14 boot to get over that neoprene. So this is comfort wise, so much better.
Yeah. It's really just like wearing a second sock. Like it's a little thicker, but not much. I think it's more a function of like, if you're in a situation where you have to wear a dry suit, are you gonna have really thick socks under the dry suit that would require you to go up a size than the sock foot on the dry suit itself?
Right. Bob, dry suit has a zipper so you can pee. Yeah, the relief zipper.
Yeah, there's nothing worse than a suit without a relief zipper when you have to go. Trying to get out of a dry suit when you have to pee is not a fun experience.
So Jeff is back to 38 inseam, 6'10", 300 pounds. That's not a small dude.
No, I'd have him like I said, go to that custom page and hit all his measurements in. There's a set of about 8 measurements they're looking for, and then they can kick a size recommendation to you, and then and he can call in too to get sizing help on that. Well,
we've got more questions and all that, but we've kind of run out of time. Maybe, Matt, if you get a chance, you can scroll through those and maybe answer them later on. But again, everybody who has liked, shared, commented, you will be entered, and we'll be doing the drawing tomorrow for the Leviathan PFD. So one of you guys is going to win that. And again, you can be watching it on the replay. So just make sure you comment and share. If anybody wants to see the great stuff at Kokatat, it is at kokatat.com. Matt, I can't thank you enough for joining me. That show flew by, and it's probably because it is a subject I am so passionate about. But great information. I really appreciate it. Any final parting words? Anything you think we missed that you wanted to touch on?
No, I mean, we could talk for hours about it, right? Thanks for having me. And if you guys have more questions, go to the website, give us a call. yeah, always good to hear from people. So
Yeah, and like I said, if you have questions, comments, Matt can scroll through these things later and answer those questions. Or hey, what are you looking for in a PFD? People, what would you like to see in a PFD? Because they're always looking at the next one.
Yep.
Again, we talked about how long it takes to get one out and designed and approved and everything else, but they're always looking to make the next best product. So if you have ideas on a PFD, put them down here, and these guys can go scroll through there and find out what you're thinking of, because we're all different. Like I said, I know so many guys that love all those pockets, and then I'm the other one who doesn't love all the pockets, and I want attachments for my PFD and my PLD. I mean, my VHF and my PLB, but I don't need a whole lot else. So finding the right one for you is so important, and that's why Kokatat has so many different ones, but they're always looking to make the next one. So throw those ideas out at us. Matt, again, thank you. I'm going to drop you out of here, man.
All right. Have a good one.
I'll be talking to you later. Have a great weekend.
You too.
Well, wow, that was a good show, man. That really flew by. I really appreciate everybody joining us. Again, brought to you by Ballast Point Brewing Company. I hope you have a good weekend. If you are going out on the water, please, please, please wear your PFD and keep your paddle right side up. Have a great weekend. I'm out.